This is Still a Part of Us, a podcast where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter Red.
And I'm Lee Red.
And in this episode, we're talking to each other.
We are.
About our son, Brannan.
Yes. It has been 2 years, and we have finally decided to trudge through all the pain and sorrow and tell the story ourselves.
You know, I've been dreading this actually a lot, because we knew that we were going to do this. That was our way of paying tribute and celebrating him this year for his second birthday, and I have been dreading it. When we finally recorded, both of us were a couple of messes.
Yeah, we were both messes.
Yeah. As a word of caution to our listeners, this discussion contains emotional triggers of stillbirth and infant loss.
So, Winter?
Yeah.
Over the last 2 years,
yeah,
what have been a couple of things that have helped you?
Well, I think the things that have helped early on versus kind of later have been different for me anyway. Mm-hmm. Early on, like after Brannan's funeral, everything kind of died away. Like we still got plenty of attention. Don't get me wrong. And I'm super grateful for all the meals that were brought to us, people checking in on us for several months there. And I'm so grateful. We got cards. I swear we were getting cards still like 6 months after he was born. And so thank you to everyone. Everyone has been so kind to us. And I just want to say thank you. We have too many people to thank. I guess that's not any reason to not thank everybody individually, but just a quick blanket statement of thank you. If you were involved in when the Reds broke down, we're so grateful for you. So early on, we obviously saw many people reach out to us and just pray for us. That in itself was huge because I believe in prayer. I believe in the power of prayer, and I felt like people were praying for us, and I felt comforted. And I have talked about this many times before on other episodes, but our good friend Jamie, she did not ask what I needed, what we needed. She just brought over, and this was before I think we'd even been discharged from the hospital. But there was a bag full of stuff when we got home. The bag was contained in there were some Chucks pads for bleeding, and there was cooling packs, and this is the kind of the best part about it is that she put in stuff for like milk suppression. So there was like little ice packs that you could stick in your bra, and there was a cabbage. A cabbage. I know that doesn't make any sense, but cabbages are supposed to like help with milk suppression. So you just cut a leaf off and stick it in your bra because it has the right shape. And so she brought us food and stuck it in the fridge and the freezer so we could use it whenever we needed to. She gave me some treats and had a book in there. It was really kind. She didn't ask what I needed. She just found something that she thought I might need. And I was so grateful to Jamie for that. That will always forever be one of the kindest, most thoughtful gifts that I've ever had given to me. So shortly after Brannan's birth, it was those kind of things, those little things where people would just show up, or there was stuff that was left on our doorstep with no name on it, just treats. And I just remember it several times, just breaking down crying, thinking, gosh, we are so loved. We are so blessed to have friends and family that love us so much to do simple things that is not a big deal for them, but makes a huge deal to us when we just didn't want to do much of anything for those first several months. So that's one thing that helped. We've talked about this before also, is that after Brannan passed away, it was August 2nd when we buried him. And so kind of all throughout August, we were not doing much of anything. I took some time off from work, and Lee took several weeks off from the market. He is a chef and does a small food business at our local market. And you took several weeks off and Lucy didn't have any school or anything. And so we just kind of didn't do much of anything. So the thing that really helped for us was that we actually took a little break and went up to Bear Lake, which is up in the border of Idaho and Utah.
Yeah, northern Utah.
Yeah. And had a little break to ourselves. And it was nice because it was after Labor Day. I always get those mixed up. Labor Day. And so that town was kind of deserted, actually. And it was so nice just to be there together and somewhere different, kind of a little change of scenery. And then to get back into the swing of things once we got back, because Lucy was starting preschool that year. And so that was nice to have that little bit of a change of scenery and then something to get us into a routine. Because I think I started work when we got back too.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm trying to think of other things throughout the last year, even, as I think the thing that's helped us the most is just talking about Brannan and people being super open to talking about Brannan and just asking, like, how are you doing about, like, are you guys missing him still? How's that feeling? Those little bits of just being able to talk about Brannan has been great. Great for me anyway. What about you, Lee?
A couple things that have really helped me. Winter was actually really quite supportive of me going and talking with a counselor. And at first it was going to be couple therapy or couples counseling, talking about, how can we overcome this pain and this sorrow. And then it turned to Winter just saying, Lee, I think you should go. And that was really quite helpful. The therapist, there was one really nice insight in the very beginning, and I was angry and I was just mad, and I didn't know who I should focus that anger on, so I just turned it onto myself, and she really helped me to see you don't have to be angry with anybody. You can just feel what you are feeling and have it detached. It doesn't have to be focused on anyone or anything. If you're feeling angry, you could feel angry. You don't have to be angry at someone or something. You could just be angry. And then feel that feeling and then let it go. And that's the same with anything. Like, you don't have to be happy because of something. You could just be happy. You don't have to be sad because of something. And, Brannan's death has been pretty much the epicenter of all my sadness and anger, but it's nice to say that I can let go of these I can let go of these feelings after I have felt them. And that was really quite good for me. And I don't know, Winter, if I've ever told you, but thank you for letting me sort of hijack that
Oh,
that
no.
counselor.
No, I actually I felt like, so I think we've had talks about how people mourn differently and process things differently, and I feel like I've had a lot of quote unquote practice. That sounds funny, of grieving, because I lost my mom when I was 10. I lost my dad when I was 27, 28. And so I feel like I've had a lot of loss in my life. And so I feel like I was a little bit more practiced, if you can say that. It sounds dumb to say that, but I just remember talking to Lee as, like, I felt okay at the time when we were seeing our counselor and feeling kind of like settled and accepting of where I was at. I felt guilty about where I was at because Lee was struggling. You were struggling, Lee, and you were angry. You were angry about a lot of things, it felt like. And so I'm glad that you did. I was happy to let you have those times with the counselor, because I think counselors are there for a reason. So
Yeah.
as a couple and personally too, like, you can do it just one-on-one, and the other times you would need to work it out as a couple. Like, And that was the other thing. Like she spoke about this is like, you don't have to be mourning at the same time. You
Yeah.
don't have to. You shouldn't be. You're different people. And so I kind of felt like, oh, I don't have to feel guilty for feeling like, okay, I'm okay with where I'm at, where Brannan's at. But if Lee needs more time, then that's cool. That helps me realize that that I shouldn't be rushing you, I guess.
Well, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, so I became friends with a guy, and he got me started on a very nerdy game. It's called Pathfinder. It's what nerds play.
Okay, wait. So describe what Pathfinder. Maybe give everybody context so they know what Pathfinder is.
So Pathfinder is a different version of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
It's a numbers and dice game, and you role play the character you make up. And
Lee's looking really sheepish right now.
It's very nerdy. And if you think back to all the nerds in school, they probably played Pathfinder or Dungeons or Dragons or a variation. So I became friends with this guy, and he was like, "Hey, I'm starting a new game. Do you want to be part of it?" And this was maybe 3-4 years ago, probably 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And this was before we were even pregnant with Brannan. And I was like, yeah, sure. Once a month, once every other week or something like that. And, it became really nerdy. And I like joking about it because, here I am, a 35-year-old, and I'm playing a nerd game. But after Brannan's funeral, they actually came to Brannan's funeral, the group of them, and then a couple months later they texted me. They said, "We're coming over to your house to play." And I texted back and I was like, I don't think so. Like I'm not ready. And they're like, "Oh, you don't have to play, but we're coming over to your house." And I was like, "Oh, please guys don't, I don't." And they're like, we think it's time to get back into." And they pretty much forced themselves back into playing. And that was really good because I would have just stopped hanging out with them. It would have just been I don't feel like it and I'm not going to do it. But after that first time, that they pretty much forced their way into our house to play a nerdy game. And after that, I was like, that was good. That was good for me. They just said, because I saw them here and there throughout the city and stuff. And I think they saw that I wasn't doing too good. And they just said, we're coming over. We'll bust down your door if we need to. And that was good. After that, it was like, thanks. Yeah, it was nice because it forced me to do something, even though I didn't want to. And I've I'm sure everybody who's experienced loss or some sort of depression, it's hard to engage yourself to go out and do something. You could have all the intentions to do it. And I've told Winter many times, I should do this, I should do that. But when the rubber actually hits the road, it's sort of hard to go.
Yeah,
it's hard to motivate yourself.
Yeah, that's one thing I felt like after Brannan passed away. I felt like the wind was taken out of our sails, to put it, in a proverbial sense. Because I feel like we try and go do stuff. We try and invite people over. But I think for the last 2 years we've kind of been hermitish.
Not the Hermitage.
No. But I would say we've kind of stuck to ourselves, or we've stuck really close to our families. Like that has been super comforting to be with our family.
Yeah.
And so to kind of emphasize your point, Lee, is that sometimes when you've, like, I think sometimes lost moms and lost dads, they just don't have it in them to go to be the ones that motivate and do the things. Does that make sense? So you might have to do something without them asking and just hope it works out. kind of like your friends did, Lee, and who just came over. Or, like I said, Jamie bringing something over when I didn't even know what I needed. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't know what we need. We have no idea. We're just a little bit lost and we don't have any motivation to do the things we used to do.
Yeah.
I would even say, we would easily say that we were in a depression for a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah. We definitely were, and I still think we have a depressed state.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say we're depressed, but we sort of have a how would it be, like a tapped down.
Yeah. A tamp down, like, yeah. We're not our usual, like what you knew us before. This is the
Yeah,
new normal Lee and Winter Red.
yeah.
And
We used to have all sorts of gatherings and parties and
dinner parties,
dinner
get togethers.
parties, and now not to say that I don't care, but I just don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to it's hard to it's hard to do it.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to feel motivated.
Motivated, and also I don't this is going to sound very callous. It's hard to care. Like, the most important thing to me is my wife and my daughter and my son, and I've got to make sure that they're okay, but everything else is secondary and tertiary.
Yeah.
So,
I watched this TED talk about stillbirth, and I remember the lady talked about how going through that kind of experience is like a fire. It burns off all the extra stuff. And she's like, gosh, I had a friendship that basically disappeared once this happened because I just didn't care to maintain it anymore, and she didn't care to try and maintain it either because of this experience. And I thought, sometimes things fall away because of something so, like you said, epicenter of our grief, epicenter of our sadness that we've had the last 2 years. That has changed us. We are different people, and I think lost moms and lost dads like us, they feel different about a lot of things. You just don't care about certain things anymore. Like it's just not that important.
yeah.
You know what's important now, I think. And I think that's why our family has like I said, I feel like our siblings have become such good friends with us. Like I feel like that has been really important. And then I think our relationship has gotten better because we instead of, falling apart, we've drawn closer together. I don't know what you think, but
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I don't want to get all mushy, but I think our relationship, in every relationship, it takes two to tango.
yeah.
And sometimes I'm stepping on Winter's feet. Sometimes she's stepping on our feet. Sometimes Lucy wants to butt in. Sometimes we have to take a water break. And,
A union break.
it's a union break. But going back to relationships and friendships and stuff, it's hard for our whole lives. You have to maintain a relationship, and both people have to.
Yeah.
So if you have a friend that can't understand that either you're going through a hard time, and they can't understand, well, you don't ever call me or do anything, and they don't try to maintain the relationship as well. Yeah, I could see like that TED talk. What do you remember what her name was?
No, I don't, but I can put that in the show
Yeah.
notes when I get it because there were several talks that I watched about grief and stillbirth. So
And if you're both not trying to maintain a relationship, it does go away.
yeah,
So goes the way of the buffalo.
yeah. I mean, it's not to say that it couldn't be revived again, but there usually needs to be some changes and effort, right?
Yeah. Winter, has there been anything that you just have just been cringeworthy that you're just like, oh, I can't believe somebody would say this or do this, or can't believe this organization would do this, put out an advertisement. I don't know. Has there been anything that has just been glaringly bad?
I would say nothing intentional, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
People mean well, and I really, really honestly, like that is one thing that has helped me going through this is that I've had a new perspective on stuff that I say that I'm like, oh yeah, I totally meant well with that. But I'm like, somebody's going to take that wrong if they're in a really bad position. And we've had people say things to us that I would not necessarily say anymore to anybody that has lost a child, honestly. Once again, well intentioned, but nothing. But I would not say that anymore because now I am like, oh, that kind of stings a little bit. I understand where they're coming from. I understand they want to mean well and are trying to comfort me in some sort of way. It doesn't sound quite right when you've actually been through the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really is like, and if you've listened to any of the other advice episodes, there's often quite a running theme that
Yeah.
people say stupid stuff and people say awkward stuff just trying to help. And it has been quite eye-opening. Oh, well, at least you have another child, at least you have Lucy here with you. It's like, that
We are grateful for Lucy.
yeah,
But gosh, I wouldn't trade Brannan for Lucy or vice versa.
yeah, Lucy is not our son, and our son is not Lucy, and we have lost a child. Well, at least you didn't get to know him.
Oh, yeah.
Winter had him in her belly for 9 months.
Yeah.
And we had dreams. We had what we thought our family would be like. We had a name picked out. We had been calling him Brannan for some time, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure it would have been bad to know him for 50 years and then us pass away. But we didn't. And he's still our son, and it still hurts. And and there's all those platitudes like, no, this must be God's plan for you. And I struggled with my own personal belief, and I don't really know how I feel about that. And I don't want to get on this podcast and tell you what I think right now about that, but that is just a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
So,
because I have, thankfully nobody's really said that to me, Lee. I don't think anybody said that to me.
yeah.
Because I don't. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't make anybody feel good.
It doesn't.
About anything, and so life happens and crap happens in life. Like that's all there's, because we're mortal. So.
I quite like what you say, Winter. This sucks. I'm sorry. And that's, if people say that to me, that's the best thing they could say. That sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It just really.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah. And I appreciate others who have said something similar, and then they say, gosh, I don't even know. I don't even know what you are feeling right now because I have not gone through anything like this. And being on the other side, I feel like I have said stupid stuff because I just didn't realize or didn't understand. And that could be with any type of trauma or grief. I feel like we've had occasion to talk to people that have suffered like sexual assault, or they have gone through a divorce, or they're all different types of grief and loss. And I don't know what those are like either. And now I'm like super careful about what I say because it's all different for everybody. So just makes you more aware, I think.
Yeah.
If anything. Lee, do we want to talk about a little bit about what we do to remember Brannan, or things that we have done to celebrate him? Or
yeah, I think that would be good. So a couple of things. Many years ago, I bought Winter a little stuffed animal that was an opossum, and our daughter Lucy, she stole it, and it has become her own stuffed animal. And it is the original possum is just a mangy looking, sorry, sad stuffed animal, but she loves it.
Like a lot, you guys.
Yeah, and we bought a second one, and he's not as loved as the first one. But if the original possum goes kaput, there is a backup.
Yeah. His name is Bill, everybody.
Yeah, Bill. There's a great talk,
It's a
great podcast.
by 99% Invisible. If you get a
Yes.
chance, look up Billy the Possum.
Yep, a Billy Possum.
The Billy Possum.
We all know about a teddy bear because the president
Theodore Roosevelt.
They tried to catch lightning in a bottle twice with a Billy Possum.
With William Howard Taft, I think.
Yeah.
So great podcast episode. I can put it in the show notes if you're interested in listening to it. But that's how Billy our Possum came to be.
We heard that podcast, and then I found a possum, and I was like, "Oh, Winter will love this." And Lucy hijacked it, and I'm glad she did because she loves that thing.
She does.
And then when we were pregnant with Brannan, I was like, "Oh, how great would it be to get another stuffed animal that would be his?" And our local zoo, the Hogle Zoo, had just got red pandas.
2 new red pandas.
Two new red pandas. And I was like, oh, that would be cute. Like, we'll get these nice red pandas. If you've never seen a red panda, it looks almost like a raccoon. They're about the size of a raccoon, but they're a lot more playful and cute.
Yeah, they're fluffier but they're red and they're reddish.
They're red and brown and white. And so I bought a red panda for Brannan. And then after he passed, I went and I purchased as many as I can get.
I think you bought all of them off of Amazon. Everything that they had.
I bought the whole stock.
Which was only like 6, I think.
Yeah. So Brannan is actually buried with one of them. Lucy has one. Winter has one. I have one.
And then I think we have another one.
Yeah, we have an extra one. And Lucy plays with her red panda, and she calls the panda Brannan. Winter has one sitting on the nightstand. I can't. It's hard for me, and it's tucked away. So my red panda is not often looked at. But that is one way that I have celebrated, because we, with Lucy, I like to see her playing with her red panda.
Yeah, and something our counselor actually recommended we do is, like, we told her that we had these little red panda stuffed animals, and she recommended that we tuck him into bed with Lucy, like as a kind of a ritual to remember him by.
Yeah.
And that has been a really sweet thing for us to do when we tuck Lucy into bed.
Another thing, last year for his first birthday, we raised money, and so many people were generous and oh so generous. And we raised money so we could also purchase caskets for other people who have had lost children.
We were hoping to raise money for maybe one casket, which would be around, it ranged from like $375 to like $550. So we were hoping to do like $500 just to see. And we were blown away. We've been able to, as a report, actually, so we've been able to help 5 families, and 2 of our friends have, when you knew that we were raising this, kind of shortly after, one of our friends said, hey, I have a friend at work who is just, their baby is going to pass away. The baby's been in the NICU for a while. And so she basically nominated her friend, and we were able to purchase their casket anonymously on behalf of our friend. And then we've been able to help 2 more families that we didn't know, but our mortuary where we buried, with whom we buried Brannan, we reached out to them and told them that this is what we were doing, to call us if they had anybody that needed help. And so we were able to help 2 more families at our local mortuary. And then we recently had another friend of mine who reached out and said, hey, do you know anything about this? She had not, we didn't know each other when all of this happened with Brannan. And then I told her what we do, and I was like, we would be happy to help. And so we sort of know who they are, and it was great to hear from them. They wrote us a really nice card, and basically a nice card to you guys, because you helped with this fundraiser. And they said, thank you. You have no idea. well, you do have an idea that all of this can take you by surprise, that all this cost at the funeral, and you're expecting not to have to worry about this, but you do, and you're so young and you have to deal with this. So, and then we have another friend that will probably be helping.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you to all of the wonderful people who have helped.
Yeah. One other thing that there's a couple of things that have been helpful. So I don't know if it was for Mother's Day or if it was for Christmas. It was for Christmas.
For Father's Day.
For Father's Day. No, it wasn't for Father's Day. It was for Christmas.
Christmas.
You actually you snuck the box that had Brannan's little onesie and his cap and his little muslin that we had him wrapped up in. You had those framed, and his little plaster handprints and footprints framed, and they're so beautiful. I actually fretted about it when I saw it because I was like, where am I going to put that? Because that's so intimidating for people to see. There was a bit of like, my first reaction was like, oh my gosh, this is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. And I know that Lee told me later that he has not been able to touch any of his things because it just is too much. So it's actually really nice to see it and not have to touch it I think for Lee.
Yeah. To tell you the truth, sometimes I do wish I could touch it, but
yeah.
I don't know if I would, but
yeah,
having it behind glass, sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I should not have done that, but
it's okay. If we want to take it out, we can in the future. It's not permanent, but they're beautiful. Like, they're beautifully framed. We had some close family friends do it for us, and they just did a beautiful job of it. So that's been nice. It's in our living room, and we just, when I sit in the morning in the living room to just meditate and read, that's something I always look up to and just say, hey, Brannan. One other thing I think, which was a labor of love for us, Lee, was the bench that we created for Brannan.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So we purchased plots for all of us because
we, just to let you know, we know where we're going to be buried.
I know. It's so weird to have our plots and stuff, and I feel like we're kind of young to have plots, but okay, whatever.
Old people and and people who've lost.
Yeah. So we bought plots so that we could be all together, because I didn't like the fact that he would be by himself. I've mentioned this before, that there's a baby land in the cemetery, but that didn't feel right to me. I don't know why.
No.
I didn't even think about it, actually, because I just knew that I wanted to make sure that he had a place with us.
It was a permanent home for him.
Yeah. And honestly, very, very, very close to where we live currently.
Yeah.
But we fretted over what we wanted, actually. We were like, I don't want a headstone. Because we're like, we're going to probably make it so that it has our stuff, our information on it too. And so we wanted it to be something that we would all like and would be beautiful for when we went to visit Brannan.
Doing the research for it, first of all, I was like, I don't sit on the ground very well. And so very early we found out we were going to have a bench, because I sometimes refuse to sit on the ground.
He's not very flexible,
I'm
everybody.
Not very flexible. And so then we started looking at benches, and we're like, oh, this is not our style. Oh, this is our style. And we pretty quickly found a bench that we liked, and it was concrete and wood. And when we talked to Bountiful Monument, they did our headstone, and he was like, oh yeah, if you do wood, it'll only last 40 years. and so he mocked up some drafts, and it just felt right. It was beautiful.
It was really simple.
And it was us.
Yeah, it's kind of this very modern looking bench.
It's an L-shaped bench.
He was a little surprised when we were like, yeah, we want the writing here. He's like, right there? And I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And so there's on one side, it has our names, and our family stuff. And then Brannan has kind of his own spot on the other side, and it's kind of hidden. I like it. It's a little secret. I feel like it's a little secret place actually for
Yeah.
Brannan.
Yeah.
So, and it's just beautiful. And we did take a year. Like, we had his headstone placed, that bench put in like 2 weeks before his birthday last year.
Yeah.
So I'm just really proud of it. Like, because I felt like we were designing it for him.
It took a while because it like we settled on what we wanted, but to actually do it, it took a long time because you're looking at finality, you know?
Yeah.
Like Brannan will be put in the ground. Brannan was put in the ground, but then this is going to be the last thing that we can do for him.
Yeah.
And it took quite a bit of self-determination to do it.
Yeah. I didn't like the finality of it either.
Yeah.
But I really liked doing it for him.
Yeah.
Like making it for him.
It was a great tribute, but yeah.
Yeah, I get proud of it because I'm like, yeah, this is something that we designed for him. Not it what yeah, sure, it's for us too, but which is a bonus, I'm just saying. But it was something that we really took our time, I think, so that we could do something for him. Cuz we would have decorated his nursery, or we would have there was you would do that for a child when they were coming home. So, yeah, that was a little hard. Well, Lee, any last thoughts about anything?
No, just happy birthday, Brannan.
Yeah.
Winter, it's been a wonderful run. We're not ending.
We're not ending the run. Come on, Lee.
But it's been 1 year.
Yeah. It's been 1 year since this podcast. It's Brandon's second birthday, and we love him so much. And happy birthday. It's never going to go away, that sadness, but it does get different and maybe easier. I don't know. But I love you too, Lee. I'm grateful for you.
Thanks, dear.